This is the July 22nd, 2020 regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Schertz. Agenda item number 2, seat alternate to act if required. I believe we have both alternates with us tonight, Mr. Platt, Mr. Odom. Item number 3, hearing of residents. Did anyone sign up? I haven't seen anybody come in. No?
But I do have one.
And we have one sent in by email. All right, if you would, please.
Okay, so this is from John Sullivan at 513 Triple Crown. Schertz Planning and Zoning Commission. I want to bring your attention to the fact that we have significant exemptions in our UDC for public schools. I recall that one of the primary arguments for making exemptions for public schools in the UDC in the last few years was that they are public governments similar to the city that answer to elected officials and share a vested interest in the local community. So if residents did not like something a school district is building there, is already an avenue for local feedback in a public forum with elected officials. It now appears that private businesses and nonprofits that run charter schools can build compressed schools atypical of past public school facilities on very small lots with minimal trees and mostly impervious cover on the entire property, even adjacent to major freeways and without any sidewalk connectivity. They do not have to answer in any public election when they cause chaotic traffic issues in our neighborhoods. I do not recall it ever being considered that organizations that do not have the same level of accountability as our local school districts would be labeled as public schools in the UDC. I believe it is important to remove the exemptions for public schools. If not, perhaps it would be possible to clarify that the exemptions only apply to schools that have local elected officials with the opportunity for public meetings during the design of any new or expanded facilities.
All right, thank you. That was the only one? Item number 4 is the consent agenda. We have 2 items. Item A, minutes for the July 8, 2020 regular meeting. And item B, PC 2020-021, consider and act upon a request for approval of a final plat of the RIP subdivision, Lot 1, Block 1, an approximately 2-acre tract of land located at the southeast corner of FM 3009 and Rips Chrysler, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas, also known as 4894 FM 3009. Commissioners, anyone want to pull anything for consideration? I would like to pull item B for discussion. Does anyone object to that? Okay. So do I have a motion on the consent agenda item 4A?
I'll make a motion we approve the consent agenda item 4A, minutes of the July 8th, 2020 regular meeting as presented.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda item 4A from Commissioner Broad, second by Commissioner Greenwald. Any further discussion or questions? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, 6 ayes, none opposed. Motion passes. Okay, item 4B. If you don't mind, I'll start it since I asked to discuss it. Can you bring up the plat, Nick, or the diagram? Yeah. My concern with this, number one, we have a document where the engineer in 2 places has said this document, I'm sorry, I can't read it quite, let me read it off mine here. Says this document shall not be recorded for any purpose, for review purposes only, and that's in 2 different places on this plat. And then the other thing I think is lacking is when I look at the final plat technical checklist, there's an item on here that says property boundaries with bearings and distances which match accompanying local meets and bounds field notes. And I see no bearings and distances.
So that was our first question about this shall not be recorded for any purposes. A lot of the times when it goes into engineers' signature places, what they'll do during the rounds of review so that a draft exhibit doesn't get recorded is they'll place that in place of their signature. And then they'll remove that when they're preparing the Mylars and the paper copies for recordation, and they'll just sign it. So this copy is not meant for recordation until it's approved, and then when they prepare those exhibits, they'll just remove that and then place their signature. The meets and bounds, that was noticed following the certification. There was a mishap with the latest submittal. We couldn't revise that specific one before the agenda had gone out because it had gone out already, but we do have a revised exhibit with the meets and bounds that'll be able to be recorded in that way. It'll be a Scribner's error, that the plat won't have the meets and bounds on it. That can be approved following approval of the final plat before it's recorded.
But this is supposed to be a final plat.
This is a final plat. So before it's recorded, the Scribner error can be taken care of. There's very specific, very, very specific guidelines for what can happen between a final plat approval and recordation.
I understand the explanations, Nick, but, and no offense intended, I'm reluctant. You know, you're showing me a document that isn't what I'm actually going to approve. You know, you're asking the commission to approve the plat based on this exhibit.
On this flashback now, but we have it.
Is it in SharePoint?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, what was your comment on the meets and bounds again?
Well, you know, the checklist requires bearings and distances.
I can pull up the exhibit for you if you'd like.
Okay.
The corrected exhibit that has the meets and bounds, so you can see.
I just didn't catch what your comment was.
So on the
Well-
boundaries between the lots, there's supposed to be a bearing and distance for every lot line, and the layer was turned off with the latest submittal of the plat. It's going to be corrected before it's recorded, and they've already submitted. It was caught basically immediately, and right after the agenda was sent out. It's just not on the actual exhibit that was submitted with the agenda.
It's
Am I spelling everything wrong?
it's illegal for them to do anything with that property without meets and bounds.
Correct.
Well, we'll see if IT can help you out here. Well, Nick is trying, they have the corrected plat drawing.
Yep.
And so Nick is trying to show that to us. And the computer's not cooperating.
I apologize. I would have put that in the that specific exhibit in the presentation if it wasn't already used for the agenda pushed out. So I wanted to be consistent with what we published. So
Is the final Mylar already submitted?
no. Yes. Okay. Do I need to do anything, or they'll take? Oh, sorry. Put it back on out of habit.
If they do not have Mylars in hand that are incorrect because they do not have meets and bounds, then the commission, should it desire, could approve this thing with a Scribner error that they don't file it until they get the correct Mylars sent in with meets and bounds.
Yeah, that'll be absolutely taken care of. They have meets and bounds. They have a survey, and they have a legal,
Okay.
like legal field notes, a legal meets and bounds copy. Just the layer was turned off on the plat on the last submittal. Wasn't caught with the agenda being sent out, was caught after, and they've already sent in their revised exhibit.
Well, I'll leave that to the rest of the commission then. I personally don't like to approve things. You know, it's one thing when we have a spelling error in the minutes or something, but personally, if I'm going to vote to approve or disapprove a technical document, I I'd like to see that document. But I'm one of 6 guys up here, so whatever the rest of you would like to do. I assume from your comments, Mr. Evans, you've seen this before? I assume from your comments that you've seen this issue before?
Yes, sir.
And Chairman? And Chairman Outlaw, this isn't the first time it's happened before. This kind of thing has happened before many times. We do have the exhibit, and the commission can put a condition, like Mr. Evans said, that the meets and bounds be added to the plat document prior to recording of the plat.
Well, Commissioners, it's your pleasure. So,
This is what will be recorded, or this is the plat with the meets and bounds.
okay. Without and they'll remove the engineer's statements there about,
Yes, of course. That's why they're in the place of the signature block, so that no one signs it before it's finally approved.
okay. All right. Yep. Thank you. Commissioners, any other discussion, questions?
So shall we approve the one in the packet or approve the one that's on the screen?
Well,
And if so, how do we announce the one on the screen?
I
Yeah.
it's a technicality, I think, sir, but what we would be approving or disapproving, whatever the motion is, would be PC 2020-021, not the particular. So it's, my opinion would be we'd be approving the one he's showing us now, the corrected one.
You can approve PC 2020-021, I believe, with the condition that the meets and bounds and bearings are shown on the lot lines.
Okay,
That's fine too.
that would probably be okay.
You should do it that way, because the actual document that you have, I'm gonna call it in your packet,
Yeah.
is not correct. I know he has an electronic version of something that is correct, but it's not what you studied. So you should make a recommendation of approval, but it should contain the proviso that they correct that meets and bounds problem before filing that final plat.
Would you like to make that motion, Mr. Evans?
Sir?
Would you like to make that motion?
All right. I'll move that we approve PC 2020-021, provided that the meets and bounds are corrected and recorded on the final plat before it is recorded.
All right, thank you, sir. I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Evans. Do I have a second?
Second.
Was Commissioner Broad written? Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve PC 2020-021. Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. 6 ayes, no nays. Motion's approved. Item number 5, items for individual consideration. PC 2020-020, consider and act upon a request for approval of a preliminary plat of the Parklands 2 subdivision Unit 1, an approximately 23-acre tract of land located approximately 3,500 feet east of the intersection between Parklands Way and Frobese Lane, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas.
Okay, so the property outlined in green here is going to be Parklands 2, Unit 1, with the rest of this rectangle shape being the Parklands 2 subdivision. For kind of reference for areas around it, this will be the existing, once built out, the Parklands subdivision, with this road right here being Parklands Way, coming up and around subdivision. This is Frobese Lane, and then Eckert Road. So Parklands 2, Unit 1, they're proposing to preliminary plat around 23 acres into a total of 72 buildable single-family residential lots. 34 of those lots will be, so all these lots are going to develop in accordance with 3 different lot codes established in the PDD. So 34 will develop in accordance with the SF 7200 lot code, which basically means that it's a minimum 60 feet wide by 120 feet deep. 15 will develop in accordance with the SF 8200 lot code, which means 65 feet wide and 120 feet deep. And then 23 will develop in accordance with the SF 9000 lot code, which means 70 feet wide and 120 feet deep. How this will connect to existing infrastructure eventually, 2 points of access through Pender Way here, which will connect to Parkland Subdivision Unit 2B. And this is the second page of the plat, which is down here in reference to the first. And this is Arrow Mound, which will also connect to Parkland Subdivision Unit 2B. In addition to that, the preliminary plat meets all applicable requirements within the UDC, and staff is recommending approval.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, questions, discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
I motion to approve PC 2020-020.
I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Platt.
Second.
Who is that? Commissioner Odom. I have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 6 ayes, no nay. Motion passes. Item 6, requests and announcements. Request by commissioners to place items on a future planning and zoning agenda. Commissioners. I would ask sometime in the future, no rush. You know, in response to Mr. Sullivan's email, maybe a discussion. I'm not sure what exemptions he's referring to there. I know we make some exemptions on permits and things, and we've wiggled the UDC a little bit on this, but maybe if you could put together something to explain what it is he's concerned about, and we can talk about it. No one else? Announcements by commissioners. Anyone have anything? All right. righty. I was going to announce that Commissioner LaDonna Bacon has submitted her resignation, partly due to some health issues in the current situation, and also it sounds like she is moving out of the area. So that will be on the, her resignation will be on the City Council agenda next week, I believe, along with our recommendation following past practices. We are recommending that the council approve Mr. Platt as a full-time member of the commission. That leaves us a vacancy for a second alternate. The current plan is to advertise, I believe, in the August Schertz magazine, but the city secretary feels that council would prefer we advertise that vacancy and see what applications we get. So my guess is we're probably talking sometime the end of August before we have anything there. So for now, it'll be just you. Okay, that's all I had. Item C, announcements by city staff.
We had one site plan. This is for Windy Meadows Lot 6, Block 2. So y'all have previously seen a site plan that looked very similar to this. They had gone through the full site plan process and have since come back in to do a revision to it. So they are changing kind of this area back here. They've added more paving to a staging area, relocated some parking spaces. The building itself has not changed, but basically this whole area, including some landscaping, has changed. That's it.
All right, thank you. Nothing else from staff? Anything else from commissioners? This meeting stands adjourned.